appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
You did. That was out.
Yes, and that's the second explosion. You could see the plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen. So this looks like it is some sort of a concerted effort to attack.
On September 11th, 2001, everyone who was alive remembers where they were, what they were doing, who they were with. Today, the children we have in our classrooms do not have these same memories, and because of that, it is being wildly debated how and what to teach about 9/11 within the classroom. The chapter that I was looking at is Patriotism, Pedagogy, and Freedom on the Educational Meanings of 9/11 by Michael Apple. His chapter is looking at how and what to educate students. He feels that when teaching 9/11, you need to look at all aspects, the economic, the social, and the political changes that came about from 9/11. But he also argues that you need to spend a lot of time looking at the economic interests both before and after 9/11. He's also very against using any type of media or memorialization of 9/11 within the classroom. Now that the students are so young, memorializing 9/11 is not going to answer any questions they have about it, only bring up more. He also thinks that it's the best way to teach 9/11 is by paralleling it with the JFK assassination in 1963 and the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1942. Because 9/11 happened within our own lives, I interviewed different people depending on their age. The first group are teachers who would have been in elementary, middle, or high school in 2001. The second group, they would have been in college, and the third group, they would have already have been teachers. The younger teachers are more against teaching 9/11 within the classroom, and they feel that unless it directly relates to the topic, that they do not want to cover it. The world history teachers only bring up small connections when they reach the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and the Iranian Revolution. The younger world U.S. history teacher only looks at it as a relation of fear when it comes to the Cold War, but now that incoming juniors would have been 2 years old when it happened, it is harder to make this connection. The middle-aged teachers are all for teaching 9/11 in the classroom. They spend anywhere from 3 to 7 days each talking about it. The U.S. history teacher looks at it with a lot of discussion, writing, and videos talking about the before and aftermath of 9/11. The econ government teacher looks at it as from the victims and what makes a hero, and relates it back to world and U.S. history with the KKK, the rape of Nanking, and Hitler, and why Muslims should not be synonymous with terrorists. The older teachers, however, think that 9/11 should not at all be taught in the classroom unless it pertains specifically to that topic. So the government econ teacher will bring up 9/11 when he talks about Article 2 of the Constitution, and he'll bring up the Patriot Act and stuff like that because it deals with presidential powers, but he does not go out of his way to teach 9/11. The younger teachers agree that one of the reasons it is very hard to teach 9/11 and why they sway away from it is due to media coverage. Now that the students are so young, it makes it a lot harder to try to override what the media is telling them. And they feel that due to the extreme polarization of the political parties, the way 9/11 now is being addressed and memorialized reflects on which news station's political agenda. The older teachers agree that nothing should be memorialized within the classroom, and that it should be taught in the same way as Pearl Harbor. Although they argue against teaching it the same way you would teach the John F. Kennedy assassination, due to that there's not as much mystery around 9/11 as there is around the John F. Kennedy assassination. JFK, you know who exactly killed him, and you know the direct aftermath. But there's all the conspiracy and different types of political rallying behind JFK compared to 9/11. Although they do make the connection with Pearl Harbor and 9/11 that they both reacted in different types of war, and that they do influence our world today with how we view war. The middle teachers do not think the media polarization is as big of a deal, but do agree that it needs to be taught historically, like Pearl Harbor. But because in September you're typically at a different time period, it's harder to relate to Pearl Harbor when you haven't covered it yet. Both the older and the younger teachers are against any type of memorialization of 9/11 due to that it is a historical event and needs to be taught as one. Both groups will not show any type of memorial videos or any type of memorial readings. They will look at very few first-person responses, but they also do that with other historical events. The two middle teachers are a little bit different and do show some memorial, but not that much. So my overall findings was that 9/11 is not exactly welcomed within the classroom if you were younger when 9/11 happened, or if you were a lot older. I think that this has some kind of influencing with the way the people were also taught about 9/11. The younger teachers, if you were in elementary or middle school, typically spent more time within the classroom in 2001 discussing it, whereas the college students did not. And obviously the older teachers could choose whether or not they wanted to teach it.